FanFiction Critic, and this is what you do with a BA in English. Well, it's time once again to examine crossovers and why they so rarely work. Sometimes mashing together two different fandoms works really well, if they are similar enough. Now, today's fanfiction was brought to my attention by one of my loyal viewers because A, it's a crossover, and B, it sucks. It takes about 15 different fandoms, at least, and mashes them together, and it really just does not work at all. It's called Face the Strange, and is by Dallas, aka Dally, Philpott. Let's get started.
Dally was riding the Hogwarts Express to Hogwarts with her best friend Edward Cullen. She had just found out she was a witch and a vampire with Edward, and now they were going to school to train to be better.
And our first crossover, which is Harry Potter and Twilight, two fandoms that really don't mesh very well together for the following reasons. While both Harry Potter and the Twilight saga, I use that word in the loosest definition possible, both Harry Potter and Twilight involve the supernatural, but they both follow very different sets of rules. And while there are vampires in the Harry Potter series, they differ vastly from the vampires given to us in the Twilight saga. Mostly there's no sparkling, and no running around in the daylight, and no sparkling. No sparkling. Vampires are only mentioned very briefly in the Harry Potter series, and the Twilight saga is completely and totally devoid of witches and wizards. Now that that's out of the way, let me briefly discuss what else is wrong with this opening sequence. Edward Cullen is not a wizard, and therefore he cannot attend Hogwarts. Also, Hogwarts has a pretty strict policy about dangerous creatures and whatnot. Remember, Lupin the werewolf was not technically allowed to attend Hogwarts. Of course, Dumbledore bends the rules for anyone he happens to like. Asshole. Anyway, Edward should really not be here. Oh, and Dally's a complete and total Mary Sue, but we'll get to that later.
The door slid open and in came a boy with big spiky black hair and black clothes, and he had his arm wrapped up. "My name is Hiei," he said. "I am selling these candies to pay for my trip to Hogwarts." He showed them the tray, and there were Bertie's bots and candy frogs with cards on them. Edward noticed that Dally was staring at Hiei and growled, "We aren't interested, go away."
And Hiei from the anime series Yu Yu Hakusho is also here. And he is selling candy to pay for his trip to Hogwarts. Okay, you don't need to sell candy to go to Hogwarts. The trip's free. I mean, that school has so much money. You know, you never see them having bake sales or selling candy bars so that the marching band can go to that big competition. In fact, I don't even think Hogwarts has a marching band. Man, that school sucks. Anyway, Edward and Hiei both have crushes on Dally. Oh god, what a surprise! And Edward is instantly jealous of anyone who even so much as looks at her. Oh, and did I mention that this story has illustrations? You can never unsee that. Oh, and yes, Shadow from Sonic the Hedgehog now goes to Hogwarts. So take that, canon.
Dally and Edward got into a boat and went into the Great Hall with Dumbledore. They sat down at a table coincidentally right next to their friend from the ship Hiei. Dally was also sitting next to a black and red hedgehog. "My name is Shadow," said the hedgehog. Edward began to gurr again. "Why are you all talking to Dally?" he said. "Calm down," said Dally. "He is my best friend. He gets a little territorial sometimes."
You know, it's actually mentioned that Edward is dating Bella. I don't know why he has the hots for Dally, but that's anyone's guess, and he's also constantly yelling at anyone who even so much as looks in her direction. So anyway, everyone gets all sorted into their houses. Edward, Shadow, and Hiei are put into Slytherin, where all the cool kids are, naturally, and Dally is put into Ravenclaw. She's a little bit sad, but then it gets better.
Lucky she found her friends Charla, Annie, and Megan at her table. "Hey guys, I didn't know you were witches." "Yes, we are. We just found out this summer," said Megan. "I can't believe we are in the same house."
Look, you don't just find out you're a witch over the summer. You're born that way. I am really sick of Harry Potter fanfics where the author clumsily inserts a 16-year-old Mary Sue into the story and claims that she only just discovered now that she's magical. Look, go read a Harry Potter book. That's not how it works. You get a Hogwarts acceptance letter when you're 11, not 16. So to all the fanfiction authors out there who do that, stop it. Stop it. Right freaking now.
So there was good news after all. They began to head back to their homerooms when he stopped Dally in the hall. "Listen, Dally, I want to tell you something," said he. "I like you." "I like you too," she said softly. Then he kissed her and their lips met, like fire.
Oh my, Dally moves pretty fast here. Unfortunately, Edward witnesses this, and it fills him with anger and rage and some such whatevers. Then Dally gets a visit from her mom.
Dally sat in the common room or Ravenpaw sketching a picture of he and thinking of his kiss. Suddenly Say looks up at the fire in front of her and a face appeared. The fire turned blue like water, but it was fire and the eyes were yellow. "Hello," said the fire mom. Asked Dally. Then Mystique came out of the fire. She was naked, but she didn't have nipples.
Wait a minute, Mystique? Mystique from the X-Men? That Mystique? The one who can, shapeshift? Nightcrawler's biological mother. Rogue's adopted mother. Rebecca remains Stamos naked. That Mystique. Holy fuck, are there any fandoms that this author doesn't steal from? No, I mean seriously, Mystique is Dally's mom?
"Now that you are a wizard, I can give you my powers," said Mystique. She handed me an orb and suddenly the room turned colors. "Ah," screamed Della. She was in a lot of pain and suffrage. Then Mystique disappeared, leaving Dally with a belt with an X on it. She was now a mutant. Dally could feel a new rush hour of power in her organs. She tried it out and turned into a bat. "Well, I could already do that 'cause I'm a vampire, lol," she thought to herself. So then she tried it out again and turned into a demon. Chaos Chow. A little spiky ball was above her head. "Oh my fucking Christ," she said. "I can turn into whatever I want with Mystique's powers."
Okay, so before I dive into how awful the spelling and the grammar is, I'm going to talk real quick about mutant superpowers. In the X-Men universe, you are born with superpowers. You don't acquire them. No one can give them to you. You are born with them. Oh, and you mean suffering, not suffrage. You should also learn how to show instead of telling, and you should learn how to fucking spell. I mean seriously, go out and buy a dictionary so that you can learn to spell. So Dally tells Hiei that she now has mutant superpowers, and he comes over to hang out or whatever, and then the shit just gets really awkward.
He wanted the powers too, so he asked the fire, "Can you give me those powers too?" "And no," Mystique showered. "You are not my daughter and therefore I cannot pass the powers on to you. However, if you get married you will be my son, so we can do it then. You know what this means." He said, "If we get married I can have the powers."
They have known each other for less than 5 minutes, and he wants to marry her. And not because he loves her. No, it's not because he loves her. It's because he wants superpowers.
What a guy.
Indeed.
But suddenly Dally began to think of the other guys in her life. There was Edward. He had Bella, but he said something about liking her on the trolley. And there was Shadow, who looked at her like, "I like you." She loved Hiei, but she liked the others. "I don't think so, I have cold toes," said Dahlia, and she ran away crying. "No, you can't leave me here at the altar," shouted Hiei in upset. "Ha ha ha," laughed Mystique, "you will never fucking get T-powers."
Hold on a minute. It's like 8 bad soap opera cliches and some crappy dialogue just threw up all over the place. So, Dally can't marry Hiei because she is an indecisive Mary Sue who wants to boink Edward even though he already has a girlfriend, and Shadow even though he is a hedgehog, so she runs away crying. And Hiei accuses her of leaving him at the altar, which makes no sense because he didn't even propose. They aren't even at the altar. Like, at all. And then Mystique turns into a lame supervillain. Well, I mean, she was already a supervillain, but she turns into a lame one. Oh. I just can't handle how bad this is becoming. Man. So Dally runs into Draco Malfoy, who, like everyone else in this story, has a crush on her.
Dally looked into Draco's eyes and saw that he cared. He was full of compassion like a snake. The boy held out a hand and pulled up Dally up. "Do you want me to walk you to your class?" he asked.
Oh yeah, 'cause snakes are the most caring and compassionate creatures in the animal kingdom. What, you didn't know that? Anyway, Edward literally comes out of nowhere and starts fighting with Draco, but then Dumbledore comes in and splits them up and tells them to go to his office, leaving Dally alone with her Mary Sueishness.
So Dally had to go to the Great Hall by herself, but then Shadow came and joined her. "What is a pretty girl like you doing all by yourself in the Great Depression all alone?" he asked her. "Well, he is being an asshole," she said and cried again. Shadow put his paw on her lip and massaged her, caressing. "It's okay," he said, "it's okay."
Ew. Oh, ew. Can we have something that's not bestiality here?
Meanwhile, Edward and Draco were upstairs in Dumbledore's house. They were sitting on his bed 'cause he said they were out of cars. "What do you think your punishment should be?" Dumbledore asked, pacing around. He was wearing a black t-shirt and ripped Hollister jeans that showed off his muscles. Edward grrred, his senses were tingling, that something was not wrong. Suddenly Dumbledore put his hands on both of their legs and said, "I can think of something." "You faggot!" Draco screamed. He tried to run, but he could not.
Oh god, this is worse. I never thought I would ever say this in my whole entire life, but please go back to the bestiality. This is disgusting. You spelled like every single word in that sentence wrong, and you need to capitalize your character's names.
Shadow and Dally were talking in the Great Hall when all of a sudden a cheetah ran in at warp speed, barreling through chairs and people in a frantic rush of fury. "Shadow! Dally!" shouted the cheetah. Suddenly it turned back into Charla. She is an imograph and can turn into a cheetah. Something is going upstairs.
Hey, Dally's pal Charla can turn into a cheetah because she's an anemograph. I got news for you, sweetheart. Anemographs don't do that. Anemographs are devices that record the speed and duration of the wind. I hate to break it to you, but anemographs cannot turn into cheetahs.
Shadow put them all on his back because he is fastest, even faster than the leopard, and they ran upstairs and busted down Dumbledore's door just in time to see him unzipping his jeans. "No, Edward!" Dally shouted. She loved Edward and would never see him get hurt. She ran at Dumbledore and headbutted him. He flew back into the wall and fell into his phoenix, and they both exploded into thin air. "Fuck, we lost them!" exclaimed Draco. "We have to get that base turd fired from Hogwarts."
I don't think you can unzip your genetics, but I'm no expert then. So where the heck did this leopard come from? And where'd the cheetah go? And Dumbledore just exploded. I think you guys are going to be safe from his incredibly out-of-character pedophilia. And for the love of God, will you lay off the potty mouth for 5 minutes? All of these characters, they need the cube of profanity so much more than I do right now. So much. So the gang goes off to see Professor McGonagall, and they tell her that a teacher has been molesting them. Since they do not tell her which teacher has been doing all of the molesting, she fires Umbridge and replaces her with a new teacher who might be able to help them out.